Safety first, dust mask on, and music selected. Woodworking and music go great together. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually talk for the first time and try to explain what I'm doing. So right here I'm building 2 barn doors, and I basically want to show you how easy it is to build 2 barn doors. So I'm cutting out the sides, and I clean cut. It's good to clean cut all the factory edges off. I put that door aside, and I cut this second door. And now I'm cutting the height. So what I do is I measure out the height of the door, and then I mark 1/8 of an inch, and I measure from the other side to set the fence up. So now we can cut the height. Cut it on both doors. And now what I didn't show you was I did a layout of a couple cork lines on the piece, and that's what I'm doing now. I set up the saw fence at 1/8 of an inch tall, so I could do a cork line on the face of the door. I set up the table for some support. It's always good to support your piece. Basically, I'm just cutting an 1/8 by 1/8 groove in the center of the board. No, it wasn't the center of the board, it was on the edge. My bad. I'm cutting one on the other side. And now I cut the center. You want to make sure that you put firm pressure down so it creates an equal line. Now I'm getting the solid stick for the face wrap. What I'm doing here is measuring oversize, so I could, after I cut the strips, I could cut them down to the actual size. What you don't see here is I'm taking it to the chop saw. I'm cutting down my rips. And basically any table saw will cut pine. You don't need to have a big industrial sized table saw to do this project. My portable table will do the same thing. Now I'm cutting the top and bottom rails. It's always good to cut the factory edge off. Now I'm cutting the face wrap. Sometimes it's easier just to lay the piece on there and mark it as opposed to measuring. But you could do whatever you want. It's woodworking. Apparently, I was listening to a good song. Music and woodworking go great together. And there we go. Okay, now that we got all the parts cut, next step, you gotta sand this inside edge. So when it's like this, you pain in the ass to sand it that way. So we sand it first before we apply it on there. Sanding is not the most enjoyable task of the shop, but it's one of the most crucial tasks. A shitty sand job could ruin a piece. And I'm sanding the face of the piece because it's also easier to do it without the molding on there. Sometimes it's about the process. I guess it's always about the process. Damn, that compressor's loud. Blow off the piece so the glue sticks. Very important. And now I'm basically gluing the piece, making sure that I get plenty of glue on there, especially on the outside. So when you glue, you want to make sure that you get plenty on the outside, so when you clamp it, it oozes out and really seals that seam line. Good advice. And now I'm basically clamping the pieces together. I use Titebond 1 to glue everything but veneers. I use Titebond 3 to glue veneers. And now I'm gluing the other side. Looked like there was plenty of glue for a nice good ooze out, and we clamp again. Now we're gluing the ends on. Well, the top and the bottom piece. It's important to get a good glue joint. Tap it into submission and more clamps. It's good to have clamps. The more the better. The door's starting to look good. And more clamping. Clamps, clamps, clamps. Now we're going to put the diagonal piece on. Kind of like completes the barn door look. Basically what I just did there was I kind of laid the piece how it should go, and I just marked the edges of the board what I thought was going to be the right angle, and you could always dry fit it, adjust the angle. Doing it again here for the reverse side. I wasn't totally sure how it was going to look. Once again, you got to sand the edges before you glue it onto the stick. The compressor is so loud. You gotta blow off the dust so the glue, you get a good glue joint. Damn, that compressor's loud. You want to make sure that the stick is firmly pressed against the piece. There we go, that's better. We're going to glue this stick. It's not super exciting, but it looks dynamite once it's done. It's a lot of gluing, clamping. I guess that's my job, glue and clamper. Bondo is not just for cars. Woodworkers use it too. It's great to fill gaps and big knot holes and seams and whatever. And it actually stains up nice, so definitely use Bondo in your woodworking. Bondoing all the seams. I didn't Bondo the knot holes because that's what the customer wanted. Barn doors are looking good. There we go. Sanding starts. I'm sanding it with 80 grit, and then I progress to 150 grit. I use Klingspor sandpaper. You could use whatever you want. But I do have to admit, Klingspor is great sandpaper. So there you have it, barn doors finished with only $50 in material. Do it yourself barn doors, easy enough, just put in the time.